Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. And you can watch this program live on our Facebook page, Radyo Pilipinas World Service, and you can catch up this program later in the evening through our YouTube channel. You can also hear us live on our Evox PBS receiver app. Join us for another edition of Front and Center with your host, Jerome Toledo.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
After the participation of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. at the 47th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, President Marcos Jr. will head to South Korea later today to participate in the 32nd Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC Economic Leaders Meeting that's in South Korea from October 30 to November 2. At this summit, the president is expected to push for stronger trade, innovation, and investment partnerships across the Asia-Pacific region, particularly in key industries such as manufacturing and semiconductors. And to help us better understand what this means for the Philippine economy, we're now joined by the respected economist and financial analyst, none other than Mr. Michael Ricafort, who closely monitors both local and international economic trends. Good morning, Mr. Ricafort. Sir Mike, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us in the program here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning, Mr. Jerome, and to your viewers. Nice to be back.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, so President Marcos Jr. will head today to South Korea to attend the APEC Summit. And the agenda of the president in that summit is to push for stronger trade, innovation, and investment partnerships. So how important is President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s participation in the said summit for advancing the Philippines' trade and investment goals, particularly in the two sectors, particularly in manufacturing and semiconductors, Sir Mike?
Well, this is very important, Mr. Jerome, considering how volatile the policies are as far as the U.S. is concerned, the tariffs, the protectionist measures, the trade war. So it's important to be part of which, especially for the Philippines. And even before that, because this is one of the most important, if not the most important venue for global trade, global investments, and even generally all related to the economy, to investments, and even, the general relations, diplomatic relations with the partner countries in APEC. Because, it's a much bigger venue. Yes, we had the ASEAN. It's also important. It's attested and affirmed by the fact that none other than the U.S. President, Donald Trump, even attended all of which. So, this is the time of the year for that, and this is a critical time to be closely in touch with our partner countries. Well, especially now, the dynamics of negotiations with the U.S. We need to, of course, forward and promote the country's interests economically in terms of trade and livelihood, or especially for even including for our OFWs, because
All right.
we need to further negotiate on the 19% tariff set by the U.S. and in view of that, there's a need to further diversify the export markets of the Philippines and promote more export winners, and that's the best venue for that, to also network, whether in this special time and even during in more normal times for the past many years and many decades.
Oh, what?
So yeah,
Well, Sir
now
Mike.
of course we need
Mm-mm.
to talk to more partner countries.
Mm-mm.
Well, we also need to promote investments, attract more of them,
Mm.
and have more tie-ups in terms of many, well, not just on investments, but
Mm-mm.
also on like ODAS, financial assistance, technical assistance, and all of those things. We need to do business with them
All right.
more, and and many areas of cooperation. It's not just
Mm.
that.
Okay.
Because of some geopolitical risk in the region,
Okay.
the need to deal better with the likes of
Well,
China
Sir Mike, I do
on
have.
security. Go
Uh,
ahead, Mr. Jerome.
all right. I do have a follow up regarding the what you said, the negotiation for the 19%. You mentioned about the 19% tariff rate, which United States has imposed to the Philippines. So and at the same time, U.S. President Donald Trump is confirmed to attend the APEC summits and the Philippines as well. So by any chance, with the do you think the Philippines will still renegotiate the 19% tariff that the US has imposed to our economy?
Well, better if the Philippines gets lower than that. Though we do understand that the U.S. is talking to many other countries right now, and yeah, that's part of the negotiating tactic actually. Having this tariff so that more countries will talk and haggle, negotiate with the U.S.
Mm.
And the U.S., of course, that's the negotiating tactic and strategy by Trump. Well, with this, the higher tariffs, threats of more tariffs, like for instance, electronics. He has threatened more than 100% tariffs on that, and that's our biggest export item on
Mm.
semiconductors. So yeah, we need to really be closely monitoring that. Not just the Philippines, but many other countries around the world. They have to all of us. We need to contend with that. And on top of the reciprocal tariffs that the U.S. has set since August 7, and we need other things that we have to bring forward. Of course, there's this proposal, the bill filed in the U.S. Senate since July, the keep call centers in the U.S. So we need to also kind of be proactive with that to make sure that, of course, we need to protect our interests and to make sure that, that one will not really elevate to a level that would hurt the local
Mm.
BPO and call center
Right.
industry. And same goes with electronics. We need to constantly be in touch with them, be diplomatically, and it's not
Mm-mm.
just bilateral; it's multilateral for electronics because this
Okay.
is all the art of Trump's negotiations.
All right.
In the sense that he's trying to get concessions. That's why that's one of his objectives for countries to
Mhm.
talk to him, talk to the US, and give their respective concessions. And in return,
Mm.
that has been the strategy of Trump. It's so-called taco.
Okay.
Trump always chickens out.
Yeah.
So he would start with either actual threats or
Well,
potential threats of higher tariffs and negotiate.
Well, Sir Mike, do you think Philippines, as of this time, since President Marcos Jr. will attend the APEC summit, does the Philippines have a leverage right now to negotiate this tariff?
Yeah, we have to note that the objective of Trump is to get concessions for countries to bring forward. Okay, here's the deal. He's planning to. Trump is willing to bring down the tariffs or reduce the protectionist measures, but he must get something, or the U.S. must get something in return. Like, for instance, for semiconductors. So far, those countries that negotiated, what they really wanted there is that for more global companies to invest in the U.S. Or, that's the bottom line, in the hundreds of billions of dollars committed by some of the biggest semiconductor companies. So, that's his objective actually. Same goes with well, those countries, especially here in Asia, that would like to bring down their tariffs. So what's in exchange? Oh, well, now the latest with China. What is China already agreed to buy more soybeans from the US so that it would support the farmers in the US? Because that has been one of their headaches when China reduced the purchase of soybeans in recent years. The US government needed to provide some assistance to the US farmers, and that's one of the campaign promises of Trump to and at least they're getting the results there. In exchange for, well, at least they're now moving towards a direction. Today is a very critical date actually in APEC. October 30. It's a key highlight. It's the trade negotiations and meeting between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Those are the two biggest economies, and everything else would be affected also. And yeah, let's see if there would be more side deals that would come along. And we have said that already since the weekend when Trump went to Malaysia, already talked to some ASEAN countries and Asian countries. Yeah, like for instance, his objective when he went to Malaysia, he would like to have a peace deal between Cambodia and Thailand. So he was able to get that. So that's and of course, in return, of course, he's also trying to get well, many countries since the weekend here in Asia Pacific to get agreement on rare earths, the critical minerals. So he's gotten those agreements from Malaysia, also from Thailand, and also well, in Japan, when he went to Japan just a few days ago. So that's one of his mission in going here. And yeah, that would be the focus on the trade negotiations, getting concessions at that. And in return, US would also do its part of the deal and give some concessions in return. So it's a give and take relationship, Mr. Mr. Jerome. And well, the Philippines, of course, the leverage here is at least the EDCA sites. Maybe that's one. The defense, when it comes to the U.S. Bringing some of its their facilities here for security in the region. So that's one of the that's been actually provided already by the Philippines.
Yeah, okay.
And that's one of the source of when it comes to leverage, when it comes to this trade negotiations.
Okay, so in the APEC or the APEC meetings, which President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will attend, will also tackle innovation, artificial intelligence, and creative industries. As an economist who are closely watching trends in the economy as well as trade and investment, so how can the Philippines position itself to benefit from these emerging areas of growth? So since these three industries are, I think, one of the centerpiece of the meetings at the APEC.
Yeah, those are the very important items, especially under normal circumstances, beyond the tariffs, beyond the trade wars, beyond the protectionist policies in the US recently. So it's really focusing on those fundamentals. Right now, it's really the evolving business conditions, AI most especially, global companies. They need to retool their various supply chains worldwide, including the ones that we have here. So there will be more AI, more machine learning. Imagine that those in the economic zones, including those with those registered with PESA, with the BOI. So they need to adapt to those emerging trends, and
right.
That would be the reality. Machine learning. So the production facilities must adhere to AI. Same goes with same goes also, say, with like emerging trends in electric vehicles. So the supply chains, the automakers, the suppliers, they need to retool also and better adapt to that, because that's where the money is right now. AI, electric vehicles, and the other high-tech industries, because it's going to shape the world. It's going to boost productivity of the world. there would be requirements, of course, to supply those, the global supply chains, and that includes the Philippines. So it's better to be, for the Philippines to be in touch with the key players. They're also there in APEC, actually, being represented. There are business committees from the various countries also fairly represented there, on top of the key negotiators, the key government officials in the respective jurisdictions. So it's very important to promote investments, for them, the locators, to constantly invite them to come here and reassure them at the very least, and try to get more business from them. So that's the bottom line of all this. Because it's government sector there, private sector there. So that's the best combination, and their respective leaders, and they can all vouch for each other and do more business with each other.
Okay,
so that's very important that in APEC.
Well, okay. Going back to the discussion, because you're talking about earlier about meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping, and they will be talking at the summit to discuss their current trade relations, and whatever may be agreed upon at the APEC summit between the two leaders, it may affect the Philippine economy one way or another, Sir Mike. So, what are the risks or opportunities should we watch out? For?
Yeah, true, Mr. Jerome. Because although, the signals, the various officials of both countries, they already laid the groundwork for the two leaders to come up with a trade deal or a trade agreement. At least they'll try to ease the tension. It all started with the rare earths, and now also at least China is doing its part of the deal, trying to buy more soybean from the US, among many other concessions, and maybe some reassurance on the rare earths, because this all triggered that past 2 weeks. The Trump making again renewed threats on China. So, of course, if there's harmony, better, there's already some consent. Well, at least a mutual beneficial agreement between the U.S. and China, which are the two biggest economies. U.S. #1 economy in the world, China the second biggest, and of course, China is the biggest export partner of the biggest export destination, and also the source of imports for many countries here in Asia, in ASEAN. So that would help also the supply chain. So if they do agree, and that would lead to some pick up in the demand for exports of China to the US, and since many other Asian countries are also part of those supply chains, so it's all going to benefit us if there's something constructive that would come out of the trade talks between US and China during the APEC. So, and of course, we need to be prepared if, well, hopefully that's already the signal. It's well calculated on the part of the officials. It's the weekend at the very least. And, well, we don't want to drag on their conflict, because if they do, it's going to adversely impact the world, actually, and all of us here.
All right, Sir Mike. All right. Sorry to interrupt, but anyway, we don't have much material time. But Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, is stated, or by the name itself, is a economic cooperation forum between countries in the Asia Pacific region. Okay, so since this summit will be ongoing, or will start today, or today until November 2nd. So do you see the demand for Filipino workers increasing in the Asia Pacific region, since since we are talking about the economic cooperation among Asia Pacific countries?
Well, definitely yes. For more than 30 years, APEC has been very influential. And, because the most powerful leaders, the most powerful and influential economies, they give importance to these. They're all there. Especially now, it's not just trade, it's not just investment, even managing geopolitical risk, because China is also there. So that's why it's very important to keep the harmony through, sometimes, doing business is something more constructive rather than having misunderstanding on the geopolitical side, on the political side, or maybe security side. So, but that is also separately addressed. No? And it's kind of reassuring. The biggest leaders are there, not just the government leaders, but the biggest private sector leaders, the movers in the world, they're also there attending. So, yeah, that would promote the business interests of the country in the Philippines. Yeah. So, OFWs, of course, that's the biggest one of our biggest contributors of foreign exchange income, $40 billion per year. We're the number 4 biggest supplier of, well, we have the 4th biggest remittances from overseas workers in the world after India, Mexico, and China. And that's why it's very important also to maintain, to enhance business relations, diplomatic relations per se, with our partner countries, because a lot of them, these are prosperous, affluent, developed countries. They need labor. They need Filipinos, the OFWs, because especially they have tightness in labor supply because a lot of them are already aging. So it's very important to promote our OFWs, and of course their security, their well-being, that their rights are protected in the respective host countries. So it's holistic. It's very important that the leaders are there, that they are the key decision makers. The final decision, normally policy-wise, are with them. So this is a very important venue to promote the welfare of the OFWs. Well, the only thing that we need to contend with is that there's this 1% tax to be imposed, but that is just remittances sent by workers from the US. So that would take effect, that will be felt next year. But yeah, we calculated the impact, 1%, that's around 8 to 9 billion. That's conservatively high already, because some of the remittances in the US, they're not really from the US. Some of them just pass through, say, from the Middle East, pass through US accounts. So yeah, 8 to 9 billion pesos per year, that would be what would otherwise have been spent here in the Philippines. They have to pay for the 1% tax there in the US. So things like those, and of course the welfare and the well-being of our OFWs. Make sure their rights are protected, and and of course it's safety, security, and of course providing more jobs to them by promoting more of them to more of our partner countries, especially the more affluent developed countries.
All right. So, Sir Mike, we don't have much time, but just one question before I let you go. So, at the end of the day, how optimistic are we in that in this summit, Philippines will bring home new trade deals, investment pledges, or policy agreement from this trip that President Marcos Jr. will attend, despite the controversies that the flood control project's anomaly is causing. So how optimistic are we?
This is it's about being serendipitous about it, because everybody's there in APEC. The most powerful political leaders, the country leaders, the biggest business groups are represented in the respective countries. They're all there. We have business delegations, the biggest and wealthiest, the biggest employers, the biggest source of investments from all over the world. And that's the best venue to commit, because the leaders are also there in terms of giving reassurances, the support from the country's leadership. So yeah, there's a great chance to get more deals, although I'm sure there were already preparations made beforehand, but that should be the venue to finalize everything and to make everything formal, the biggest deals that you can imagine, because everybody's there. That's multilateral. It's making the most out of that venue, being serendipitous about it, and since everybody's there, so there's a great chance to get more huge investments, huge investment commitments, and even aid or ODAS for infrastructure, for financial assistance, and other forms of technical assistance. So it's sovereign support, and also to their biggest business groups in those developed countries. They're all there. So Yeah,
All
that's
right.
really a fertile ground to get more deals
Yeah, yeah,
and to
yeah.
get more
That's right.
investment commitments and
That's
trade commitments
that's right.
for the
Okay. All
Philippines.
right. Essentially, Sir Mike, our country needs to strengthen partnerships and remain active in international forums like this one, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, or just recently the ASEAN Summit, not to only attract more investments abroad, but also to create more opportunities for Filipinos here and abroad. And with that, thank you so much for your time and expertise, Mr. Michael Rico Ford, the Chief Economist of the Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jerome, and to your viewers, and have a pleasant morning, everyone.
All right. And Front and Center will be right back after these short messages.
Dahil sa sunod-sunod na balita ng mga lindol sa bansa, madalas naririnig natin ang mga terminong magnitude at intensity. Pero ano nga bang pagkakaiba ng dalawa? Ang magnitude ay ang sukat ng enerhiya ng lindol. Sinusukat ito gamit ang mga instrumentong seismograph. Samantala, ang intensity naman ay ang sukatan ng epekto ng lindol. Kung gaano kalakas ang naranasang pagyanig at pinsalang dulot nito sa mga tao at istruktura. Magkaibang datos, pero parehong mahalaga. Katuwang ang Radyo Pilipinas, dapat alerto publiko.
Mas pinadali na ang government transactions sa tulong ng eGovPH Super App. Pwedeng-pwede mo nang magawa ang lahat ng ito. I-download ang eGov app sa iyong smartphone o tablet mula sa App Store o Google Play Store. Pagkatapos, ilagay ang iyong mobile number at i-authenticate gamit ang one-time PIN o OTP para marehistro ang iyong account. Saka ilagay ang iyong mga pangunahing impormasyon at kumpletuhin ang facial recognition technology para sa verifikasyon ng iyong pagkakakilanlan. Para sa mas mabilis at mas maayos na serbisyong panggobyerno, gamitin na ang eGovPH Super App.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Still with me, Jerome Toledo, and we're down to the final few minutes of the program. So, but here's the latest news coming from the Malacanang as operations of Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators, or POGO, is now legally banned in the Philippines. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has signed the Republic Act number 12312, or the Anti-POGO Act of 2025, which institutionalizes the ban on Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators, or POGOs. President Marcos Jr. signed the law on October 23rd, repealing the Republic Act number 11590, also known or otherwise known as an act taxing Philippine offshore gaming operations. The Republic Act number 11590 previously imposed taxes on both offshore gaming license or licensees and their service providers operating in the country. The new law states that the Philippines recognizes the maintenance of peace and order, the protection of life, liberty, and property, and the promotion of the general welfare are paramount for the meaningful enjoyment of democracy. The state likewise values the dignity of every human person and guarantees full respect for human rights. And before this act of legislation in November 2024, citing risks posed by POGO operations in the country, President Marcos Jr. issued an executive order number 74 imposing an immediate ban on offshore and internet gaming. And this act was passed by the Senate of the Philippines as a Senate Bill number 2868 on June 9th of this year and adopted by the House of Representatives as an amendment to House Bill number 10987 on June 11. In issuing EO number 74, President Marcos Jr. said that the state has the paramount duty to safeguard national security, maintain public order, uphold the rule of law, protect the safety of its citizens, ensure the integrity of the social fabric of the nation. And during the State of the Nation address on July 22nd last year, President Marcos Jr. declared a pogo ban due to crimes such as human trafficking and torture associated with pogo hubs. President Marcos Jr. said that banning all pogos will solve many of the problems the Philippines is encountering. And you just heard the portion of the speech of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during his State of the Nation address in July 2024. And under that new law, which is RA 12312, the first-time violators will face imprisonment of 6 to 8 years and a fine between 300,000 pesos and 15 million pesos. And for the second offense, it will be an imprisonment of 8 years and 1 day to 10 years and a fine between 15 million pesos to 30 million pesos. And for the third offense, will be imprisonment of 10 years and 1 day to 12 years and a fine between 30 million pesos and 50 million pesos. And if the offender is a public official or employee, the maximum penalty under the applicable category will be imposed. If the guilty party is or are foreigners, rather, they will be deported immediately after serving their sentence and permanently banned from re-entering the Philippines. And with that development, we now conclude this edition of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service, together with our technical team headed by Mr. Milo Janela and Hiro Lucero and Leo Magpayo, and together with our intern Will from the Technological Institute of the Philippines. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.